Hello, welcome to the post-match Royal Blue podcast. I'm Ian Croll, joined by Paul Wheelock outside Hill Dickinson Stadium. And Paul, we've got a smile on our face.
Yeah, great start to the season, wasn't it? You know, there were times in that first half where you thought Palace were going to open the score and it might have been a long afternoon, but by the end I think we were the worthy winners, weren't we?
Yeah, listen, the main thing is that Everton got the win. 2-0 win, clean sheet. Before we actually get into it, let's give a bit of praise to Jordan Pickford. I think he's already made one of the saves of the season already, hasn't he?
Absolutely
that
fantastic.
Fingertip save. I mean, you'd be disappointed that Nketiah didn't score that goal if from your fan point of view. But Jordan Pickford, fingertip save onto the post.
Yeah, he's absolutely. It's different class, isn't it? You know, like how many times, probably even back to the first game of last season against Brighton, it reminded me of that where we won the game 2-0, but we were indebted to Pickford, weren't we? Not just a penalty save, you know, we made other saves in that game, and that's why he is the England #1. That's why he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, because in the big moments he wins his games or wins his points. It was a fantastic save. At that point, as I said, it did feel like, you know, Palace were going to score, but we kind of weathered that storm. Had a bit of luck and a good win.
Yeah, we looked at the first half performance. I didn't think it was like fantastic. I think Palace had the better of the chances. I think looking at the stats, just looking there before we started speaking in the first half, they had 4 big chances and we had none. Now I know we scored the Kieran Dewsbury goal, but that's not like a clear-cut chance. That was a fantastic goal. Obviously, like outside the box, brilliant. Me mate actually beforehand, just before he slotted that fantastic goal. He hasn't really done much game, hasn't he?
No.
And he goes and does something like that. I think that's what he's got, hasn't he? That quality.
Yeah, I was the same, to be honest, because I think he played one good pass down the line to Croll, who pulled it back for an Njai and Henderson save. But a few of the other times he'd had lost the ball, hadn't he, in decent areas, or when the pass, I think he
just recording.
He overplayed the ball to Tyreek George, so he was kind of working his way into the game. But he is, if Pickford's you know, a match winner at one end of the pitch, Dewsbury also match winning the other. Again, he was fantastic, really was.
No, absolutely. I think again we did struggle a little bit. I thought we struggled to contain Mateta. I think he's a fantastic player. He's just that focal point up there. But Branthwaite, obviously, Tarkowski, I think there was a couple of times where he got caught out a little bit, but Branthwaite played well. A little bit of a concern with regards to every time he went down, he picked up maybe 1 or 2 knocks. Is it just a case of building up his match fitness, building up? You know, I don't know whether it's that pain threshold with Branthwaite, because every time he went down, he just seemed like he was injured, and then you're just fearing the worst. But he's got through that. He's got through that game, and hopefully that just builds up that match fitness. Yeah,
I think the knocks he took today were like impact ones, weren't they? But I think because he's so key for us, and how such a great player he is, and I thought he was excellent today. I really did. Every time he goes down, we are going to have that fear, because we've had a couple of seasons. I'm sure in his head he'll be worried, but we've got to get over that a little bit, haven't we? I know he did an interview with Joe Thomas, didn't he, out in Germany, and he was talking about that, like where he has to. Hopefully his bad luck's behind him now, because he makes such a big difference to the team. You know, there's been talk a lot of this week after David Moyes' press conference and Angus Kinnear's interviews, where what went wrong at the back end of last season, and there's no question, again, you've seen it today. If Branthwaite doesn't get injured in the derby, who knows what would have happened, because he makes such a big difference for us. I thought he was excellent.
I thought the midfield, that was quite interesting today. Obviously, almost a new look Everton midfield. Like I know Kieran Dewsbury and Harrison Armstrong were there last season, but it's nice to see Harrison Armstrong playing in probably one of his more, you know, his position that you'd expect him to play in. It's the number 10. I know there might have been interchanging a little bit. Hayden Hackney, first Premier League game. He was playing the deeper role, I guess. I don't think necessarily that's going to be his role moving forward, but I thought he did well. I thought he did okay. My only concern was that, again, in transition, when we lost the ball in that midfield battle, certainly in the first half. Look, I don't want to keep harping on about the first half, because the second half was a better display. We looked a little bit more like we had the impetus. But when we lose out in that quick transition, Palace were on us, and I think that came from the midfield a little bit. I
agree. I think it was very similar to last season against Palace, wasn't it? You know, they were the stronger team in the first half and wasted a number of opportunities. But I think we've all said it in the first season here, last season, that we do lack a bit of a number 6, don't we? And I don't think that, as you say, I don't think that's anything against Hackney or Armstrong today. But in that first half, Wharton's a hell of a player, isn't he? And he was pulling the strings from deep. And to be fair, I thought McNeil had a good game first half, and Nketiah, were getting into those little like half spaces between the midfield and the defence, and they were causing us a lot of problems. But to be fair to David Moyes and the players, they certainly sorted it out at half time. You know, we came out the blocks really fast.
Definitely improvement, wasn't it, in the second half?
But if you look back, we were just saying then, I know the second goal killed it really in the game, and we were fairly comfortable, weren't we? But there wasn't many chances in the second half, because there's no doubt about it, in the first half there were probably too many we gave away.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about Maitland Roll. I mean, the biggest talking point this pre-season has been the right-back situation. Moyes and even the CEO were asked about it this week. Everton fans are expecting Everton to sign a right-back at some point before the January the summer transfer window shuts. Sorry. But Maitland Roll, I mean, you wouldn't have thought he looked out of place. You would have thought he potentially could play right back for Everton for the majority of the season. I did say, like, becoming a little bit more accepting of that potentially being the case, just because he's a lot more athletic. You know, he gets forward a little bit more. He's clearly got more legs than a Jake O'Brien, and that's no slight on a Jake O'Brien, who's clearly not a right back. He clearly is a centre back. But from a utility point of view, Maitland Roll looks like he could potentially do a job, certainly going forward anyway. Yeah,
it just gives us more of an option at home in games where we have to be on the front foot, or games that we need to be winning. You know, like, don't get me wrong, you know, at Bournemouth away next week, it might be Jake O'Brien back there. It might be, because you know, it's horses for courses. And listen, everyone knows about the right back situation. You know, the club needs one, because unfortunately Nathan Patterson is clearly not the answer long term, and it's felt internally, isn't it? But in David Moyes' defence, he has to find alternatives within his squad, and it doesn't look like we're going to sign two right backs. Just want to be fine for now, just get one over the line,
just accept for now.
But we've got an abundance of centre midfielders. Certainly with Garner was a nice surprise being back today. Norgard, who knows with the future about Tim Abunam. But we'll need someone to play there and Roll. That might be where there's game time for him. I thought he did really well. I thought there were a few shaky moments in the first half, like there was for the whole of the team. But I thought as the game went on, he got stronger and stronger. And it's just nice to see someone with the legs, hasn't he, to go past the winger. I was impressed.
It was good to see Moyes just utilise a lot more subs, I think, as well. You know, 2-0 up, I think nowadays you still need to, even if you're in the ascendancy and you're 2-0 up, 3-0 up, whatever, you've still got to try and, you know, bring fresh legs on. And it was nice to see Alcaraz come on. Like you said, didn't expect James Garner to come on. Tyreek George obviously went off as well. So look, I think it's positive. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. Palace are obviously going to be sick to death of playing Everton, because they just can't, can't catch a break.
Both sides, aren't they?
100%. Tieno Barry, quickly talk about him. I don't think he had his best game, but he got his goal. Turning point potentially, because you know the reception that he received,
massive, wasn't it? Yeah.
Certainly when he scored the goal, he couldn't get enough of celebrating. And fair enough, I'm all for, you know, players celebrating goals. But even when he went off the pitch, when he got subbed off for Beto, the crowd did give him a standing ovation. Put Everton to bed now. That's gone before Tieno Barry, and move forward. I
think you're absolutely spot on. You know, there were a couple of times, wasn't there, in home games last season, where there was a bit of a mixed reception, wasn't he, when he either came on or came off, given what happened there. You know, with the incidents at the Emirates. But today, you know, he wasn't involved loads. And like in the first half, I think he really, his touch let him down after that great cross from Dewsbury Hall. But all good strikers keep going. And he was there in the right place. It was a brilliant ball from Njai, who I thought was absolutely fantastic today. Like, I know we're all going to be thinking for the next 10, 12 days, will one of the big clubs come in for Njai? But I think today showed why, even if they do, you know, if we want to achieve Europe this season, I think you've got to have an Njai in the team, because the fair play to Barry, right place, right time, put the header back across the goalie, but the cross was just begging to be scored, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Njai was the next point I was going to go to. Obviously, it's been a summer of speculation about his future. He's put to bed any, you know, move to Saudi now. That doesn't necessarily put to bed any move to another Premier League club, which I think it's come out potentially and stipulated that's where he wants to stay. Hopefully it's in a blue shirt. But let's face it, he's not had much of a pre-season.
Nope.
He's come off a World Cup. He's obviously had a 3-week break, not to mention his time playing in AFCON as well. He obviously doesn't look out of place. He doesn't look unfit. He's still sharp. For me, we'll talk about who was your man of the match. I know Tyreek George got it on the vote there, but for me it was either Ndai or Harrison Armstrong. I thought both of them were great. I'm going to probably give it to Ndai, because I just thought, I'm glad he's just kind of picked up a little bit from where he left off not from the end of last season, because we know he had a couple of issues, but that was kind of back to the olden day.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just he's a magical player, isn't he? He's the kind of player who you come the game to watch. You know, I know we live in like a business world now with football, where we sign him for 15 million, and if and when he eventually goes, you're gonna make a massive profit on him. But you come to the game to watch players like that, and he's a joy when he's in that kind of mood. And I think you're absolutely spot on about Harrison Armstrong as well. You know, I think like Hackney and the rest of the team, it was a bit of a struggle in the first half, but as the half wore on and as the game wore on, he got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I think, I'm sure there'll be changes for Preston midweek, but Garner's back now. There may have to be a change at Bournemouth away, and then Man United after that. But I thought Armstrong's, has probably put his name in the team sheet for these next few games at least, until, maybe Norgard comes back as well. But I thought he was great. Yeah, you're all about utilising the squad, isn't it? Yeah.
Just to finish off, look, made up, delighted that we got the 2-0 win. What pleased me more than anything, obviously other than the 3 points, was after the game when Moyes came on the pitch, started doing a bit of a lap of honour, I guess, clapping the fans, signal to the players to do the same. They all did the same. Is that what Everton have kind of been missing maybe over the past, I don't know, how long, couple of months, a bit of unity? David Moyes has been under huge pressure from the fan base on the back end of the last 7 games of last season. This win, obviously, it doesn't stop any pressure, but it helps, get fans back on side for Moyes, get fans back on side for the club, and what obviously what they're trying to achieve and stuff like that. I was just made up that Moyes did that because he hasn't spoke all summer.
Nope.
We've only heard from him twice, the interview that he did with Sky Sports, obviously in his press conference now, and he's come on the pitch there and he's give the fans, a clap, and I just think that unity, that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I thought, I wasn't at the press conference on Friday. I thought he came across pretty well at Finch Farm. I didn't think he came across negatively. And then Chris Beasley, one of the Echo's reporters, one of the 2 reporters in the embargo section, and he said he wasn't downbeat at all. Like, whether you agree with some of the things he said in that, because I know the story Chris posted this morning has had a lot of traction on X, but I've said previously when I've had the pleasure of being on the Royal Blue, like, to me the season fell apart in those 2 games. It wasn't the 7. Don't get me wrong, if we would have picked more up in those 7 winless games, the last 2 may not have mattered, but it was what happened at Sunderland, and there's no question about it. I certainly felt it. I know you did. It was horrible walking out that ground that day, wasn't it? It should have been a celebration of a pretty decent season by winning, which maybe would have given us a chance of going into Europe with a win at Tottenham, and obviously a celebration of a fantastic servant in Seamus Coleman. So it did leave a bad taste what happened that day. So, hopefully onwards and upwards after that. But it was, second half, good, really good, really good. That's what we want to see. We need more wins at home, don't we? For too long, even last season, the last few seasons at Goodison, we've not come to home games and won anywhere near enough matches. So, if we can start doing that, start winning 7, 8, 9 games at home, pick up some points elsewhere, I'm sure it'll help the mood.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely delighted with the win, 2-0 win, clean sheet. Bournemouth next. Well, actually, it's Bournemouth next in the league and then Preston in the cup, isn't it? So, be interesting to see if David Moyes, what changes he will potentially make. He's obviously going to have to go strong, isn't he? But we will see what happens. We're going to have more coverage on that as the week goes on. Any final thoughts then, Paul, before we shoot off?
No, been a good day, hasn't it, mate? It's like, sun shining. It could be even a better night. Like, it's been. This is it. I think you're absolutely spot on. We needed this today. Then it sounds ridiculous, the first game of the season, talking about changing the mood in the fan base, but it has been bad over the summer, hasn't it? It has been. That disappointment has lingered, hasn't it?
Yeah. Hopefully that puts it to bed now.
Yeah, definitely.
Move on onwards. Okay, this has been your post-match Royal Blue podcast. I've been joined by Paul Wheelock, I've been Ian Croll, and we will see you again on Monday for a live show in the Royal Blue studio. See you soon.